What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Game Show. My name is AJ Gels. How y'all doing? As you can see by the title of this video, and yes, the screen is what we're going to be looking at. I need to get a good secondary software so I can actually like cut and splice shit together. So I can, if I want to do more of these kind of videos. Which, by the way, if you want to see more of these, where I just kind of sit down, break down the story's plot from start to finish, and just kind of what I like and didn't like about it, because that's basically what we're going to be doing here. Tell me, and like I said, like I'll actually splurge and get a good secondary software, because the software that I currently work, that I record and edit with, basically I can record and then just make cuts and whatnot, but I can't like combine clips and all this, you know, it's not like a full Adobe suite kind of thing. So, you know, if you want to see stuff like this where I'm talking over gameplay or cutscenes or whatever, hit me up and I'll look into doing something like this. So this is going to be kind of a proto version of that, where we're just going to look at this screen and I'm just going to talk. And you know, I have no notes or anything in front of me, so like always, this is just kind of coming off the top of my head. But either way, what I was going to say before I got into that little tangent was, obviously this video took a while because I've been trying to finish this game up for the last couple days. My goal is to have it done by Monday, but this game just kept seeming to just not end, which isn't a good thing, because holy crap, this game, this is a fucking rabbit hole I went down to finish this motherfucker. I guess kind of moving on to like the actual like review and whatever, I'm gonna actually name the things that I liked, because to say this game was all in all crap isn't fair, because I do think this game was good in a way. Gameplay was fantastic. I've had some people tell me, you know, hey AJ, I'm not a big fan of like Naughty Dog games, like the gameplay in Naughty Dog games. So I'm okay, fine, I get that. That's your thing. Me personally, I love the Uncharted franchise. I love the Last of Us game. Granted, I mean these two games I think are similar gameplay wise. Yes, there's other Naughty Dog titles out there, but you know, just for terms of comparison, these two games are fair enough. Which actually, I was playing this game and at times going, oh, that was something they kind of altered from Uncharted, or this is something, you know, it's a whole thing. But as I was saying, if you like that sort of Naughty Dog style gameplay, this will just speak volumes to you. It is great from that standpoint. The scavenging and crafting systems from the first game are still there. The supplements, you know, using supplements to increase skills is still there. The gun modification is really neat. There's a lot of neat visual details to that sort of stuff. I mean, from a gameplay perspective, this game was great. The performances were amazing. I've had somebody say that, you know, throw enough money at it and performances do go up. It's true, you can get better talent. But I mean, you know, obviously Troy Baker as Joel, sadly, in my opinion, he was extremely underutilized in this game. He nails it with that role. Ashley Johnson is an absolute treasure. I love her. Not only as Ellie, she's in that show Blind Spot, if anybody knows what it is. It's the FBI with that girl she's found in that bag with all the tattoos all over her in Central, not Central Park, what, Times Square. There we go. If anybody remembers that TV show, I think it was, I'm not sure how long ago that aired, or was that Fox or was it CBS? Either way, not important, but you know, Ashley Johnson was actually in that show. She does a lot of other stuff. She does other voice acting work. She's just got such a great voice, and her performance is always, I love her to death. But even the characters, the other voice actors that I don't know off the top of my head, I think they put in a great work. Even characters that I didn't like, I think the performances were on point. Visually, the game was good. I ran into one visual glitch that happened one time I played a cutscene, and then the second time I played the same cutscene, there was something I had to re-record a video. But that cutscene, everything looked fine. There was no issue with it. So I didn't mind. It's one of those things, okay, visual bugs happen, but for the most part, visually the game looked good. Yeah, I mean, and music was great. I mean, yeah, it's all that twangy guitar, kind of like twangy post-apocalyptic guitar thing that the first game did, but still, it fits the game perfectly. It works. There were some really cool acoustic covers. Like, there's even like a guitar simulator where you can like pick different key structures and whatever and play guitar as Ellie, and from like some people who really know music and composition and shit, like they're doing covers of songs and whatnot. There's an acoustic cover in the game of Ellie playing an acoustic "Take on Me" by Aha, which is pretty good. It just all in all, there are a lot of really cool scenes, and there is a lot of really good stuff about this game. It's similar to Mass Effect 3, where at least in that case, the ending wasn't that good, but the ride down was super fun. In this game, the whole story is kind of fucked, and I think that there's so many reasons why, and like I said, that's why I think the easiest way to do it will be break the story down and go piece by piece. So obviously, there will be spoilers. But basically, even though the story was kind of shit, the environmental design, I didn't mention that, was also really cool. Just not only in the gameplay portion of, like we're stealthing through areas and having fights and whatnot, those are really cool, but also just the way the world is built and looks and everything was very well done. So moving on, sorry. Basically what I'm saying is, despite all the issues I had with the narrative, the gameplay and everything really made this game stand out and was really there. It was the story, though, that somehow they could not get a simple revenge story to just kill. And this is like I said, I kind of want to start from the start of the game and move on. The problem is, there is like 90 flashbacks in this game, and a lot of times those flashbacks don't 100% make sense why they are there, because they reveal information that we either shouldn't have gotten until the very end of the game in one instance, and in other instances some are just completely unnecessary. There's one scene that's a really nice palate cleanser, that's just Joel and Ellie like on her birthday at like at a museum out in Wyoming. It was a really nice scene. It wasn't necessary, but it was kind of a nice palate cleanser and kind of a reminder of why we're on this mission. It was one of those really good scene. I didn't think it was that out of place. I thought it was well done. And it was also about the first real flashback. It was the other 80 flashbacks that I had a problem with, especially because we get halfway through the game and then we jump back in time and switch perspectives and play as a different character. And then she, as we're playing back to this point where we jumped back in time, are also having flashbacks. So the timeline is all over the goddamn place. So if I get some of where some of these flashbacks are, if I reveal certain information from certain flashbacks too early, it's because to understand my commentary here, you need to know this flashback, but I also think this flashback should have been at this place. It's all fucked. I'm serious, man. This story should have been a slam dunk. Instead, it's like going up for an uncontested layup and you throw the ball over the back, or hell, not even just breaking it or just putting too much on it and it goes up over the backboard. Hell, it's like going up, you're just on I don't know basketball that well. I don't know why I'm using this as an analogy, but it's like you're on a fast break and just halfway, you hit about 3/4 of the way down the court. You're moving in, getting ready to go. All right, this is gonna be some awesome Showtime dunk. You know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna turn around and just overhand throw the ball into the crowd. That is what this felt like. It just, wow. Oh my god, I need a drink. All right, so starting off, I actually don't have a problem with where things are going at this point, right at the start of the game, because I actually thought the opening scene was pretty good. It's Joel and Tommy sitting there talking to each other. Joel's kind of giving us the rundown of what happened last time, like what happened in the last game, and kind of telling Tommy that I say, because it was a great line. Tommy's like, "What did you do, Joel?" He's like, "What did you do?" Because he's trying to figure out, like, what did he do? I was expecting one of that answer from, if anybody remembers Spartacus on Stars. It's the guy who played the brother in The Mummy. He also played a few other characters. I really like the actor. I never remember his name, though. He asks the guy playing Spartacus, he's like, "What would you do to see your wife again? Hold her in your arms. How many men would you kill? 100? 1,000? The guy playing Spartacus, "I would kill them all." I was expecting that answer, "I killed them all," sort of thing. But no, it was the greatest answer. The writing in that moment was really good, because I think I mentioned this. The writing at times in the dialogue is actually really good. It's just they couldn't structure a story around that dialogue. But he asks him, "What did you do, Joel?" And just kind of, music cuts, kind of looks at him, just a little pause. "I saved her." Boom, great, fantastic opening. Tommy tells him, just don't tell her. Keep it to yourself. Joel rides back into Jackson. It's that settlement that Tommy and his wife were setting up in the first game. And at this point, I'm not 100% sure how far after the first game it was. I'd say it's probably months to at most a year, because, Joel then has his little meeting with Ellie. He plays a little bit for her on guitar and says, he's going to teach her how to play guitar. It's this nice little moment between those two. Ellie still got her long ponytail and, still looks like she did in the first game. So again, it's like I said, it's probably been a year at most. And then we jump 4 years into the future to the real start of the game in our current timeline. Ellie is 19 in this game. So that's why I say I think the previous scene, the opening, was about a year after the events of the first game, because I think she was 14 in the first game, and this game takes place 5 years after. So if it was 4 years after that scene we just saw, my math makes that, you can kind of follow that train of thought math-wise. So either way, Ellie's 19 now. If anybody remembers the scene from, I want to say it was 2 E3s ago. It might have been 3 E3s ago. It was the year that they started in that weird shed where Sean Layden comes out. You see that cutscene of Ellie at that little town dance. She meets Dina, that chick that she kisses. That whole scene that some people, I personally like the scene. It's a fine scene. I get what some people were saying, and this is where we're going to get into the controversies and whatnot. Yeah, it's Naughty Dog kind of going, ooh, look how forward and progressive thinking we are. That's exactly what that scene is. I'll get into that a little bit later, but that's what that scene is. So, we literally pick up after, I'm sorry, I'll get, like I said, this scene is in the game, but not right here. Not when you think it would make sense to put this scene. So, you have the dance where you see Ellie and Dina and all that. So that scene is actually at another spot in the game, which I'm not going to tell you where it is yet. I'm going to save that for the end, because well, actually, I just kind of told you there. Damn it, I kind of ruined my own surprise. They put it at the end of the game. They put that scene at the end of the fucking game. I don't know why, but they did. If you can't tell, I'm having a lot of fun just making fun of this. Like, I was talking about this game to somebody else. They're like, why are you so happy that this game sucked so much? Because I'm like, I'm impressed that they were able to piss me off this much. I'm shocked. It's almost funny. But either way, sorry, I'll get back to what I was talking about. So, you have the Joel and Tommy scene. We cut to 4 years later, and Ellie's waking up from that previous night of, that night at the dance. She's waking up the next day. So she's going to go out on patrol or whatever. So this is where we meet Jesse. He's a member of this community. He is, I think his role there is he makes all the patrol kind of routes and the teams and whatnot. He is the ex-boyfriend to Dina, the chick Ellie kissed. He's a friend of Ellie's. That's about all we ever really find out about him, even though he's in the game later on. He's really just kind of used to push certain narrative threads. That's really pretty much what he is. Sadly enough, a lot of these new characters, there was a lot of potential in them that just nobody's ever developed or just made interesting. Either way, so from there, we find out what happened the night before. We also find out, hey, there's some problems between Ellie and Joel. They seem to be fighting, and what's causing the problem? And at this point in time in the game, I'm thinking, well, Ellie's 19 and whatnot. It's probably Joel kind of being that overprotective father. We've seen what lengths he'll go to actually protect her. So, he's that overprotective father. No, it turns out, and again, this is the reason I'm bringing this up now and not when this flashback happens, is because I can't remember where the hell this flashback happens amongst, again, the other 40 other flashbacks. Apparently, Ellie figured it out and put everything together that she isn't, or that she put it together that Joel wiped out the Fireflies and saved Ellie. That, you know, that they were going to cut her head open and whatever, that, you know, he basically kept them from creating a cure because it would kill her. She figures this out. Personally, I keep arguing the fact that, did we ever really know that the Fireflies were going to actually be able to create a cure? Because, I mean, I sit here and go, I mean, you'd have to figure out why she's immune, which I would think it's genetic. It's just some sort of weird mutation. Just, there could be a number of reasons. So if they could even figure that out, then they have to go through the process of figuring out how to recreate that mutation, figuring out how to create that genetic therapy that would be needed to give people a vaccine. It's just, there's a lot of questions to whether they'd have the capabilities and or ability, they'd have the capabilities, let alone the ability to even figure out why she's immune. And that's my whole thing. You know, I get it. It feels like throughout this game, they were trying to push this whole, oh, well, maybe, you know, Joel was wrong for saving Ellie. Maybe. I don't know. Mainly because this game, in my opinion, has a few places where there could be a possible theme that's just touched upon and never fully developed. So I'm not sure. Hell, even the ending message of the game, which I think is revenge is a bad thing to do, isn't 100% clear. Because I don't fucking know. Basically, Ellie figures out that Joel killed the Fireflies and kept them from maybe creating a cure. So from there, she tells Joel, you know, I'm fucking done with you. You know, we're done, whatever, you know, you know, you're dead to me, basically. Which is interesting, given some stuff later that I'm going to talk about. But again, there's so many flashbacks and information is doled out at such weird times that because again, no, this information is delivered in a flashback halfway through the game, not even halfway through the game, instead of some other place that would have made so much more sense, but whatever. So that explains why Joel and Ellie are fighting, even though I also think it's weird that everyone in this tight community is kind of like, hey, you and Joel seem to be, seem to be having like a little bit of a, little bit of a fight, you know, or you seem to, you're kind of at odds. You know, it's like, but the way that Ellie left it off with him, and I believe it was like years, like this was like 2 years before even the start of the actual game. The flashback goes back like 2 years, or I don't know, maybe it was months, but either way, it was a long enough time that I'm like, well, you guys only now notice that there's like a little bit of a riff, not a you're fucking dead to me sort of situation. I'm like, that's kind of weird, but whatever. Either way, we find out, again, not through seeing this dance sequence that we saw at E3, because we have to say that for the end of the game for some reason. We find out that after Ellie and Dina shared a kiss, apparently a member of the community kind of came up to them and said a not so nice word. Yeah, but you called them a loudmouth, let's just leave it at slur for a lesbian. And Joel, you know, pushed him, told him, you know, basically told him, like, what the fuck's your problem, man? It's a whole thing. And basically this whole confrontation is there. They even show us in the later cutscene because, you know, the E3 one didn't show that fight with Seth. That's his name, which is also fun because that character Seth is shown in that cutscene at the end of the game, this bit at the beginning of the game, and is never here again. He's mentioned in like one note that a character finds later on, but for the most part, he's an unimportant character. The fact that he insulted Ellie is completely unnecessary. The fact that, you know, it's basically he used bigoted language for Naughty Dog to virtue and say, we're cool with gay people, and which is, I didn't think was super necessary because the game has plenty of them in there, and they're just in there casually, which I don't necessarily have an issue with. My problem is that they're using this scene, and they're using just their, oh, there's just gay people, you know, it's like, oh, there's just so many gay people in this game. This is kind of what I mean by the controversy. So many people have kind of gone after this game for just being political pandering, and they're not wrong. It's just, I know so many people are like, oh, well, it's representation, AJ. That's what it is. And I'm like, well, no. Like, or look, maybe if you want to say representation for just the fact that they're in the game, that's fine. I have no issue with them just being in the game. But then you throw in the scene with this unimportant character making a one-off comment just to let Joel stand up for Ellie and maybe set up another scene that, again, that isn't revealed, that happened until the very end of the game, and it should have been much earlier in the game because for some reason this game can't make a fucking timeline. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting so just trying to keep track of where I am in the story. It's basically it's a throwaway line that is made so that Ellie can stand up to a bigot. Because literally they go into this, her and Jesse go into this bar. Maria, Tommy's wife, wants Seth to apologize. He gives her these couple sandwiches he made for her to have on patrol. He's like, look, I'm sorry, I was really drunk. And he's, and Ellie's just kind of like, just kind of like, whatever. And I was like, oh yeah, you're drunk and you're still an asshole. She's being very flippant about it, not letting him even really apologize. Even if you can argue that he's not even really wanting to apologize. Maria's making him. That's fine, but I think in this kind of world, you kind of have to think of it like being on a team. Look, you might not like each other. Can we at least come to an agreement of saying, look, we don't like each other. Let's just stay away from each other. No, we can't have Ellie be the bigger person in this situation. She just has to, which is going to kind of, again, come up a little later that I find. You know what? I'm just gonna reveal this. The person that Ellie's trying to take revenge on at the end of the game, she lets him go. So she becomes the bigger person then, which if you ask me is extremely unearned because we haven't seen her grow like this throughout the game. But we see her at the maybe here at the beginning of the game, it's to show Ellie she's not willing to take that apology, but at the end of the game, she's willing to let somebody who did something far worse let go. It's just, we can't see that she has the capability of letting something go, of being the bigger person this early on in the game, because this was a situation of going, look, what the guy said was hateful, what the guy said was insulting and rude, and all the, pick a word for it. It was bigoted, sure. But we can't have Ellie be the bigger person in just this minor confrontation that's going to have no effects on the story. It's in a weird way, you can argue it's set up for later in the game, but it's like I said, okay, maybe it is to show how far the character has gone, but we hadn't seen her grow at all in between, so what the hell was the point of that setup? You should have, if you weren't going to grow in between and show that she can even do it can let something go in this minor sense, it makes no sense that without developing the fact that she can grow to let something major go, there's no point to it. That's what I'm saying. That's my issue with this scene. It's so ridiculous. It's here for, like I said, a virtue. Oh, look, we're okay with all the, it's this virtuous, progressive politics sort of thing. And it does not serve the narrative. It doesn't serve anything other than that. And it's annoying. And I think it pisses a lot of people off. I think I'm not a little hyperbolic. I'm probably very hyperbolic when I say this game has a lot of political issues that really irritate me. There's two. There's this one and one later on that I'll get to when we get to that point. But this one does kind of bug me because it's like I said, it's for similar reasons that the later one will. It's not there for any reason other than getting brownie points, and that annoys me. Because at least have it be worth something. If you're going to cover an issue that's important that you think is something that we should be taking seriously, then do it justice. Don't put in straw man cartoon characters. I said the same thing in Life is Strange 2 with those civilian border patrol people that shot. Do you shoot Daniel or shoot Sean? I can't remember. But those guys, they were cartoon characters. They were they were straw men. They weren't real complex individuals that we could see, why maybe they think this way. They don't try and get in their heads and show us why they're wrong. They just make them horrible people. Like, well, see, and now we're going to knock down the straw man. It's boring. It's, like I said, it's cartoonish. And that's what Seth is. That's what this guy who says this about Ellie and Dina. It's cartoonish and it's irritating. All right. Sorry about that. I had to address that scene because like I said, from a story point, it kind of doesn't make sense, but from the larger controversy angle, it also irritates me. So, moving on from there, Ellie and Jesse, they go to this big meeting with all the scouts. Ellie's teamed with Dina, the chick she kissed. They're also really good friends. And there's this cute little snowball fight they have with these kids. It's very it kind of teaches you how to throw objects in the game, similar to like how you like lob bottles or whatever. In the first game, the snowball fight itself kind of reminds me of Nate hanging out in his attic in Uncharted 4, shooting that Nerf ball gun at those targets up there. You know, it was kind of a scene like that. It was just like a nice little like intro to combat in a way, but that kind of is lighthearted, nice. So Dina and Ellie start their patrol. I'm trying to remember. Did they start their patrol at this point, or was it at this point? No, it was okay. Yeah, they get on their horses and they leave Jackson. At this point, I believe it's this point, we move on to our second main character, Abby, who is a former Firefly that we don't find out until much later in the game, and I still say it was pretty damn obvious from the get-go that they were Fireflies, but whatever. But part of this like former cadre of Fireflies, eventually, again, it's later revealed they are now part of this like military group out of Seattle called the WLF, or the Washington Liberation Front, also known as Wolves. So, Abby and her group are on this mission that at the very start we're not 100% sure what they're trying to do, what they're trying to whatever, until they, one of them takes her on this little hike. They see Jackson. Abby's going, oh well, this is the this town, they basically knows who they're looking for. They're looking for Tommy because he was it's eventually revealed that they're looking for Tommy because he's a former Firefly. They're trying to find where Joel is. I'm cutting the fat, basically. So which oddly enough, this game's got a bunch of fat. While I think the first game was very, very much everything it did was in service of the plot. This game, not so much. So then basically Abby goes off on her own because, this guy she's with is basically saying, whoa, hold on. We need to be careful. We can't just rush into things. And Abby says, fuck that. I'm going after this guy. So she goes off on her own, stuff happens, and then we swap back to Ellie for another perspective shift. So Ellie is with Dina. They're doing their little patrol thing. There's really not a lot there, not a lot to talk about. They kind of talk about their feelings, their relationship. It basically ends with them getting stuck in a blizzard and having sex. It was a perfectly fine scene, nothing wrong with it. All of that. I think a lot of people kind of mention with this game, because I know it got a lot of returns. I think there was a retailer in, I think, Australia that basically stopped taking returns of this game because people were unhappy with the, I think with how graphic certain things were. And there is a graphic sex scene in this game much later on that I still feel is kind of unnecessary, and just you could have cut it like 5 seconds earlier, and it's just ugh. Either way, but honestly, I kind of laugh because I think this game is graphic, but I thought it was going to be a lot darker in tone. It's very graphic, like there's a lot of like blood and guts and some really fucked up stuff, but it never goes dark. Like it's just pretty much, oh, you shot a guy with a shotgun, oh yeah, his arm's getting blown off, which is cool, but still, you get what I'm saying? So either way, Ellie and Dina, hunker down for the night. Sorry, I don't know why I kind of went off on a tangent. If you haven't already noticed, this kind of plot synopsis is going to have a few of those. So Ellie and Dina hunker down, and then we swap back to Abby. She's still running from infected. She runs into Tommy and Joel, not knowing who they are. While, all three of them are running away from the infected, she takes them back to her group. Tommy says who they are, and as soon as he says he's Joel, everybody's ears perk up. They kind of look, Joel's like, you act like you've heard of us. Joel literally turns around. Abby blows out his shin with a shotgun. And I mean, he blows away his shin with a shotgun is, I think, a is putting it lightly. It splatters his fucking leg. And it, knocks him out and starts tuning him up with a golf club. Basically, and again, it's pretty obvious why they're taking revenge. It's always speculated. Oh my gosh, were they taking, now that I think about it, it's never really revealed to Ellie why they were taking revenge on Ellie, or why they took revenge on Joel. I think that never mattered to them, which I would think you would ask the person who did it, why'd you do it? Because I think that would have actually made an interesting question if you want to kind of have that whole, well, was Joel a good person? Was he a bad person? Because of who... Basically, Abby's father was the doctor who was going to cut into Ellie's head, and he was the head doctor. He was the guy that Joel shot when he went into the operating room. That's who Abby's father was, and why she's particularly really angry about all of this. So... I mean, it makes sense. I think, if at some point you would have had a scene with her and Ellie coming together and talking about why they want to kill each other, I think that would have actually been a good dialogue, would have made complete sense. But we never had that scene, and for some odd reason, because we have to reveal everything through fucking flashbacks. And really shitty flashbacks most of the time. But whatever. So, so she starts tuning Joel up. The blizzard kind of subsides. Jesse runs into Ellie and Dina, basically says, I can't believe you two, that you're wasting time in here having sex instead of being out there. Whatever, they said they were hunkering down from the storm. It's a whole thing. Jesse tells them that, Tommy and Joel haven't been seen. They go out looking for them. Ellie finds the little cabin that these people are at. Ellie breaks in and basically watches Abby beat Joel's head in and kill him with a golf club. It really, again, a graphic scene. Like, you see him, take the pointed end of the, turn the club so the head is literally like an axe into Joel's head, who pulls it back. You're seeing, brain matter. You see Joel's, tuned up face. It's a graphic scene, and a scene that, in all honesty, I think was done very well. If you were going to kill Joel, it could have been it was done very well. Sadly, Joel's presence for the rest of the game is relegated to flashbacks. I personally would have liked to see him kind of like the Joker in Arkham Knight, where he almost appears as Ellie's conscience. As a, what are you doing, kiddo? Are you sure you want to do that? Are you sure you want to do this? I think that would have been really cool, that, you see flashes of him maybe in the environment, you'll, turn a corner and maybe see him there, either his fucked up face or something to remind her to keep her angry, or to, like I said, have that scene of when she's really giving into her anger, have him kind of pulling her back, saying, are you sure you want to do this? Is this what you want? Don't become me after what happened to Sarah. Basically, I was kind of hoping that's what the story would be. Would be Ellie's kind of her version of what happened to Joel after he lost Sarah. Because we know during that 20-year gap between then and the events of the first game, he did a lot of really bad shit. So I was kind of thinking that this is what Ellie was going to do. How far is she going to go for her revenge? How far are you going to push the character? I've said this to people. I wanted Naughty Dog to almost make me hate Ellie with how dark and angry she was going to be. They did not come anywhere close to doing that, sadly. But again, I think that could have been really good. They could have used Joel in a much smarter way than they did, but sadly, they didn't want to use one of their best voice talents, or one of the best voice talents that is out there right now, but whatever. So, either way, Joel dies, and we jump forward. I can't remember exactly how long. I'd say it's at least been a couple weeks. And, Ellie is, at Joel's grave. She wants to go after, the group that killed him, which also at this point in time, we don't know, why her and Joel were having a fight, why everybody seemed like they were at odds, but we also don't, we don't know why they were at odds, and now knowing why they were at odds, what we learn later in the game, and it wasn't like a small fight, it was a you're dead to me fight, kind of makes me ask the question, because clearly she starts getting ready to go on a vendetta, revenge mission, clearly. Makes me ask the question, why were you going on a revenge mission for a guy who was dead to you? Why? That makes no freaking sense. Apparently, because at the end of the game, which again, like I said, it's why they saved this information, why they saved the fact that Ellie knew, and that's why they were fighting. I think that was important information to give us context of how bad the fight was before we even went on a revenge mission. And the fact that apparently right after that dance or whatever that Seth called Ellie and Dina, a not so nice word, apparently she, Ellie went up to Joel's house to have a talk and basically said, look, I'm not ready to forgive you, but I'm willing to try and learn how to, basically saying, look, I'm ready to start trying to mend our relationship or whatever. And that makes perfect sense now why literally the day after he gets killed like that in front of Ellie's eyes, why she's willing to go on a revenge mission. Still, you could have told me that they were reconciling way earlier. You could have told me that she knew what Joel did way earlier. I mean, it would require almost complete restructuring of the narrative, but god damn, it would have made so much more sense and stop making me ask pointless questions. Because why you save that dance sequence and them reconciling for the very end of the game, but also put the fact that they were fighting because Ellie knew what Joel did at the end of the first game in the middle is beyond me. Either way, Ellie and Dina are planning to basically go AWOL from Jackson to go into Seattle where the WLF is to save, to avenge Joel. That's when Maria tells them that, Tommy apparently left her a note saying, look, he's going after him. He left a few days ahead of them. And wants Ellie and Dina, because she knows she's not going to be able to stop them, wants those two to bring him back. So that is our whole thing. That leads us to the start of the main game, kind of out of the prologue into the goddamn game, into Seattle. Seeing that we've been going on for so long, I'm going to take a quick break just to stand up and gather my thoughts. I for videos like these where there's no music in the background, no video, no anything like that, it's just it's basically just this background of me talking. I don't get why I tell you guys when I'm going to take a break. I feel like if in the event anyone notices a cut, I should explain why that cut was there, and not just have it happen. Either way. All right, where we last left off, Ellie and Dina have entered Seattle on a revenge/rescue mission. They're going to kill the people who killed Joel and are going to save Tommy. So at this point, they're in the city. They're trying to figure out how to get into the QZ. Fedra's basically been kicked out, replaced by the WLF, and not a lot of story-intensive stuff happens. There's some character stuff between Ellie and Dina. It's nice. It's cute. I think I mentioned this before. I like some of these new characters. Like, I like Dina. I like Jesse. It's just, one, they're basically plot devices more than they are characters. And two, they're all kind of the same. They're all kind of snarky, kind of pseudo copies of Ellie. And I really noticed that about a lot of the new characters in this game. A lot of them are really just kind of snarky, kind of blank slates. Yeah, Uncharted had a similar thing, but even then, all the if you described to me a character action, maybe there'd be some overlap. You describe me a character action, maybe it would be Nate or Sully, maybe it would be like Nate or Chloe. But still, Sully had his own unique personality. Nate has his. Elena had hers. Chloe had hers, and the list goes on and on of all the sort of the core Uncharted cast. I didn't really get that in this one. I think a lot of the characters did kind of end up being all sort of the same character in a lot of ways. Their performances, like I said, were fine, but really their characters are about the same. But this little segment, like I said, had some nice character moments. It had a neat gameplay element where there was like this little sandbox version of downtown Seattle where you could find little areas to loot and find little own mini stories of what happened in this area. There's a guitar shop or a music shop where Ellie does that Take On Me cover that was really good. You find like the remnants of a bank robbery that was happening on Outbreak Day, and Ellie finds a pump shotgun in there, so that was cool. That was a completely missable weapon, but you picked up a pump shotgun. It's all neat and all that. You know, there's some neat side stuff in there. Uncharted 4 did something very similar. It's just, sadly, this is the only moment kind of like this in the game. I wish there were a few more, but like Uncharted 4 had, but you know, it was still good. It was a really nice segment. At this point in the game, I'm still really liking it. I'm still kind of waiting for the story to actually kick off. Sadly, I don't think it ever really does, but that's beside the point. So it's basically they're looking for gas to power a generator to open another gate to be able to get to this hotel that apparently some WLF were stationed in, and that's where they think Tommy was. So that's what's happening. Really not a lot of story stuff happens until they find the hotel. They get in there. They find one of the guys who was part of this group that that killed Joel was in there. He's dead. Tommy got to him, you know, kind of extracted information and has moved on. Okay, so one of the 8 people, there were 8 people in the group that killed Joel, one of them down, not killed by Ellie, but okay, fine, Tommy got there first. You know, they're kind of, at this point, trying to link up with him before anything else. So, okay, I can move on, whatever, that's fine. We keep going, and the horse that Ellie and Dina are riding on falls into a booby trap, and they are, Ellie's captured, Dina is not. This is where we run into the second character of the, yeah, I know, they're coming at us fast. Oh, there was also one other thing, like, Dina threw up, but that's not really explained the relevance of it until a little later on. That happens between finding the hotel and the getting captured, but Ellie gets caught. Dina rescues her. The guy who was part of the group that killed Joel was about to hurt Dina. Ellie comes up and stabs him in the neck with a switchblade. Again, really kind of a gruesome, you know, a very graphic scene, but, you know, it wasn't one of those. I think, again, I think what Naughty Dog was saying when this game's about hate and all this darkness and shit, yeah, it's there. But it's more graphic. It's more, you see anger and you see these graphic kills, but you don't see darkness. You don't see real human base depravity, which is kind of what I wanted to see out of this game, because this guy, if you're not catching a theme, a lot of the people die in situations that are kind of defensive situations, like this one. Ellie kills this guy trying to kill Dina. You know, there wasn't pleasure in it. She wasn't trying to get information out of him. She just kills him very pragmatically. Either way, she gets a lead on another person to go find. Ellie and Dina escape into kind of the subway tunnels. They're going through all these spores. At this point in time, she'd revealed to Dina that she's immune, but Dina didn't believe her, so Ellie's still wearing the mask. Eventually, Ellie's mask gets broken. Dina's going to give her hers, and then Ellie says, no, look, I'm not coughing, I'm fine, I told you, I'm immune, it is what it is. They get out of the subway tunnels, and Dina decides to drop the news that she's pregnant, which I sit here and go, in the list of things that amount to nothing in this game, here's one of the first big ones. Just nothing. Nothing. There are 2 things that really Dina being pregnant affects, and I'll kind of come up with them, you know, as the first one kind of now. While, you know, she reveals that she might be pregnant, you know, that she figured it out that, you know, along the way to Seattle. I did like the fact that they made the joke of Dina telling Ellie, don't worry, it's not yours. I mean, that was cute. Like I said, the writing and the performances were pretty good. I actually really did buy Ellie and Dina as a couple. I liked them together. It's just, again, nothing is done with the fucking characters. Either way, so, you know, it's revealed that Dina's pregnant. You know, Ellie kind of takes the night to sleep on it. This is where we have our little flashback to Joel and Ellie, as I mentioned earlier, at the museum. It's all cute and everything. It's a nice little palate cleanser as we move on to day 2 in Seattle. So, from there, I'm trying to remember. I want to say at this point, Ellie and Dina still go out together. No, they don't go out together. Dina basically breaks down this radio that Ellie, you know, found. She's basically getting... Oh, wait, no. I'm sorry. I was incorrect. I might have the timeline slightly off here, but they go after the third person before Dina stays at their little base. They create this little base in this abandoned theater. So Ellie and Dina go back out. They're gonna find the third member of this group. She was apparently sending naughty naughty Polaroids to the guy that Ellie killed. That was the second guy. The guy Ellie killed when she was captured. There we go. They found like a naughty Polaroid of her basically showing boob. Oddly enough, the boob is censored, yet they show boob later in the game, so I'm not sure why they didn't show boob there. That's kind of weird to me, but whatever. So they find out this chick, Leah, I think is her name, is in this TV station. Ellie and Dina go to the TV station to find her, and it turns out that all the WLF, or the Wolves, as I'm just going to keep calling them from here on, were all slaughtered by this religious cult that they are currently that the WLF are currently in a fight with, called the Seraphites. Fun thing, Ellie has some encounters with the Seraphites, but really, as far as her story goes, they play about the amount of importance as the random raider group that Joel and Ellie ran into when they lost their car in the beginning of the middle of the first Last of Us game. The Seraphites hold zero importance and zero interest to Ellie's story. I kind of get why, because, the war between the WLF and the Seraphites is kind of Abby's cross to bear. But still, I think it could have been... their stories could have crossed paths and meshed a little bit more. It would have made sense to see that conflict be explained or mean something. Instead, it's just... because she never fights like a group of WLF who are currently fighting Seraphites. She's fighting one or the other. It's just, what skin of bad guy do you want to fight? It's kind of weird, if you ask me. But whatever. So either way, they find the third person. She's, already dead. So there we go. 3 out of the 8 are dead, and 2 of them weren't even killed by Ellie. So, kind of gets an idea on where the next group of enemies are. They go back to home base. Dina's not feeling well, and Ellie decides to go out and, try and... I'm trying to say, they hear something on the radio saying that they found one of the trespassers, is what the Wolves call, they're calling Dina and Ellie trespassers, and they said they found another one, a male trespasser, so they think that's Tommy. Dina's not feeling well enough. So basically, Dina's pregnancy serves to keep her at base running as Ellie's informational support, which I think works fine. I think they could have done that with an injury. Pregnancy was not necessary, especially when it doesn't raise the stakes for shit later on. Again, I think an injury would have made it work just as well. It would have been fine. It was one of those things that just kind of felt like it came out of nowhere. I think, like I said, I think an injury or whatever would have just been... would have worked just as well and would not have made me question things. The pregnancy could have worked if that would have caused a conflict, because basically the person... it's a big exploration time, but basically Ellie finds out that the trespasser that the Wolves are fighting was Jesse. It wasn't Tommy, because Jesse left a few days after... Ellie and Dina, and they meet up. They have this really cool scene where Jesse's driving a little Jeep that they stole from the WLF, and Ellie's shooting, so it's kind of very Uncharted-esque. But, it's basically the kid that Dina's pregnant with is Jesse's. If they would have set up a conflict between Ellie and Jesse at all about this kid, which maybe there's a little uncomfortableness about it, but for the most part, there's no conflict between them over this. There's barely even a conflict over the fact that Ellie and Dean are together. There's really not. He's so cool about the whole situation. So it's like I said, the pregnancy thing, if they used it, would have been good for the most part. The first reason, it's just to keep her there as support. It's like I said, an injury or something else would have worked just as fine and not made me question it. So on its face, it's not awful. It's just, it either could have been done better or something else entirely would have worked just as fine, and I think just also better. It would have just made me not ask these questions. So Ellie and Jesse and Dina are now all together. They continue to sit around. This is where I want to say we have another flashback sequence. Again, some of these events have all just kind of happened so tightly together that I'm kind of drawing a blank of where each of them kind of happen. Ellie, no. Sorry. After Joel and Ellie get back, there's a little bit of time of all of them at base. Ellie then, I think there's a flashback sequence, and then Ellie goes out to the hospital because supposedly there's another member of the WLF group that killed Joel. She's at this hospital. Okay, so Ellie goes out alone to this hospital. As soon as she gets there, she meets Nora, who is, kind of a medical member of the group. It's a good scene. Them talking to each other. We have to chase down Nora through this hospital, and they end up in an infected area. Ellie's not wearing a mask, which doesn't mean anything to her, but Nora's also not wearing a mask. A bunch of WLF guys come down into this little area. They're wearing all their gas masks, and you can do some cool stuff with this, because there's a few moments, even though I wish there were more, where the infected and the humans actually show up in the same combat scenario, so you can actually pit them against each other. It's a neat idea that I wish they would have utilized more, but that is what it is. So there, Ellie walks up to Nora, after she's cleared out this whole basement area, basically asks her to, tell me what you know, tell me what's going on, and, she's sitting there going, I'm dead anyways, what do I have to tell you? Ellie basically picks up a pipe and says, I can make it quick, or I can make, he's like, I can make it quick, or I can make this difficult, or whatever, and just starts beating her to death with a pipe. It's that scene, if you saw the trailer, where everything's bathed in red. Ellie just swings this metal pipe forward and hits her, and you just keep hitting her and hitting her. It's a really good scene. Oddly enough, you don't see Nora all tuned up, but you could see Joel. I have a feeling that's because she's a woman and they didn't want to be accused of showing something, but maybe because, again, because I hear people keep saying, oh, this game is just so political pandery and lefty politics and whatever, that maybe I'm assuming something that isn't there on that one. Either way, it doesn't matter. So Ellie makes Nora tell her where the next group is. Really, I don't have a problem with it. This scene was actually what I wanted out of this game as a whole, but this is about the only scene that we see Ellie push and go into that dark place. They come back, and it's they ask Ellie how she got the information that she got of where Abby went. And basically, Ellie told him, I made her talk, but her hands are shaking. She's freaking out. She's basically having, like, PTSD. Yet I basically sat and go, it's not earned. It's not earned, her sitting there going, oh, my God, what have I done? Well, you know what? Let me rephrase this. It would be earned. It would be if you did it the first time. But I get it. This is the first time that she really gave into her anger and she killed somebody like that. So I can understand the shakes and the PTSD like symptoms. But that kill, that anger induced sort of enjoyment that she got out of it, should have been done so much earlier in the game. Instead, every moment up to this, either they've already been dead or she killed them herself in a moment of self-defense. So this moment there, it would have worked, in my opinion, much earlier. And also, if we had more moments like that. But this is really the darkest, other than the very end, that we see Ellie go in terms of a kill. So from there, she's killed Nora. She has Abby's position or whatever. The next day, I believe it's our day 3. We still have more flashbacks where we find out that Ellie knew. I think this is where we have the flashback where Ellie knows. Apparently, she already knew what Joel did in the first game. Like I said, this is in such a weird position. This should have been at the very end of the game, where her and Abby had their final confrontation, and Abby explains why she did it and what happened. That that Joel what Joel told you was a lie or something. They could have done something interesting there, but they didn't. They just decided, nope, she already knew. This is actually why they were fighting at the beginning of the game, and also now makes me start questioning, again, knowing what I did then, wait a minute, if she hated Joel that much, why is she on this revenge mission? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But either way, we don't have a lot of time to think about that, because Ellie and Jesse need to go out to find Tommy, because Dina's condition's getting worse. And Jesse basically is saying, look, we agree, we need to get her out of there. And, you know, Ellie, you know, is basically, they're making sure with Ellie, you know, are you sure she gets away with it? You're okay with that? Oh, yeah, I'm fine. Let's go find Tommy. And, you know, and Ellie's kind of hiding it as well, you know, Tommy's probably where Abby is right now. So let's go to this Ferris wheel where Abby's supposedly, where she supposedly is. They, you know, start adventuring together. It gets to a point where, you know, they turn left to go find Tommy, turn left to go find Abby. Obviously, we don't get that choice. You know, Jesse basically says, look, let's go get Tommy, because they find out that he's in a different direction. And Ellie says, no, look, we're right there. The Ferris wheel's right there. Let's go get Abby, whatever. They split up. Jesse goes to find Tommy. Ellie goes to find Abby. She finds the location that they're at, runs into two characters by the name of Owen and Mel. Owen was the guy that showed Abby exactly where Jackson was. You know, it's later revealed that she and Owen had a thing together, and Mel is Owen's current girlfriend / wife and is pregnant. So if you can see where I said this is the second reason why Dina became pregnant, because Ellie basically held them at gunpoint, saying, tell me where Abby is. And it basically turns into a fight. Ellie kills both of them. And at some point, Ellie figures out, oh my gosh, I killed a pregnant woman. I can't believe this. You know, the ringing in her ears. And this is where Tommy and Jesse both burst in and pull her away from the scene. Which just makes me sit here and go, so that's the entire reason Dina was pregnant, right? Was to basically make this, it's to draw a parallel. It's to make this scene mean something. But again, this was a scene that she kills them in self-defense, A, and B, it was pretty, like, she seems surprised that she killed a pregnant woman after she opened Mel's jacket. It was pretty clear she was pregnant even with the jacket on, but whatever, that's just me. The whole thing with that sequence, it's just, okay, let me count down the people who, all right, so what? They had the one that Tommy killed, the one Ellie killed in self-defense, the chick at the news station, the Leah woman, Nora, who Ellie beat to death with the pipe, and now those two. So that's 6 of the 8 people are dead. 3 of them have been killed by Ellie, or no, excuse me, 4 of them have been killed by Ellie. And 3 of them were basically in self-defense situations. This is what I mean by they never pushed Ellie. They never made her go dark. You know, they keep having her, oh my god, what have I done? I killed people. You've killed tons of people in this game, and I get it. That's just some video game stuff where we're just kind of supposed to ignore the violence that we're committing. You know, Nathan, you know, we do it all the time with Nathan Drake and the scores of people he guns down throughout his games. You know, it's what we do. But still, just the fact that they're like, oh my gosh, what have I done? Like, you didn't even kill them that brutally. Like, I could kind of give you a pass for taking the chick out with the pipe like that. That was kind of gruesome. Those two, not so much. The only thing is, it's a pregnant woman, which I think should be morally questionable enough, but they have to, it's kind of that sort of what people accuse millennials of having, you know, it's, oh, it only means something it only really means something to me if I can directly insert myself into the problem. My best friend / girlfriend is pregnant, therefore killing a pregnant woman holds even a deeper meaning to me. Instead of a, holy shit, I just killed a pregnant woman in a moment of anger. What the fuck is wrong with me? You know, again, if they would have had Ellie go into some super dark, you know, I'm going to kill them no matter what, I don't care kind of mode like I've been wanting this entire game, that would have been one thing. You didn't need Dina to be pregnant in the scene. It's just to draw a shitty parallel. To go, oh my gosh, that's what Ellie did. It's just kind of dumb. Whatever. That's just my take on it. It's just like I said, Dina didn't have to be pregnant for that scene to have Dina being pregnant didn't give that scene more weight. I think in the game, when I was playing the game in the video, I think I described it as it's a hat on a hat. It's unnecessary. It is what it is. But either way, they get her. Tommy and Jesse grab Ellie, pull her away from the situation, and take her back to their little home base. At which point, they have a little, you know, Ellie takes a nap, goes back out, meets with Jesse and Tommy. At this point, Dina's been unconscious for, like, I don't know, 3 hours of game time. And, you know, she meets Jesse and Tommy. And it's this nice little moment. You know, they're all kind of joking, whatever, about ready to leave Seattle. Tommy leaves to go start prepping the horses. They hear a noise outside. Jesse and Ellie run out to go see, oh my gosh, what happened? And Jesse gets shot in the face as they're walking, as they're going out the door. Abby basically found them and is here to get revenge on Ellie because, you know, you killed all her friends. Ellie said, look, you don't kill Tommy. It's me you want. I'm the one who did all this. And she's like, you know, we could, you know, you wasted the life that we would have given you or whatever. And then we kind of cut to black and move on to Abby's perspective because we have to go back in time and see the game from her eyes, which is so fucking weird. Now, before I take a second break, I'm going to go into a few things that I found funny before I start talking about Abby's section of the game. One, Jesse going out like a bitch, just going right through that door, catching a bullet. That happens a few times in this game of a character just walking through a door and getting shot, or about to go through a door and just catching a random bullet. It's kind of funny if it happens once or twice, and I get it, they're shooting for that realistic, it can happen at any time sort of thing. But at the same time, it's one of those, okay, you're shooting for realism there, but at the same time, it just makes it look like, okay, we're done with this character, let's just get rid of him, let's Wile E. Coyote him out of this. It looks comedic after a while. You know, once is fine, but they do it 3 or 4 times. It's just like, okay, this is ridiculous. So, that's that. My other issue with this is actually Look, the point that I've basically been trying to make up to this point, because if it seems like I've just been giving a synopsis, I'm trying to point out the plot of this game. I'm not really sure what the plot is here. Is it Ellie trying to get revenge? Because I think that's what it is, but at times it's like, well, no, we will actually the plot is we're going to save Tommy and get out of Seattle. And that's what it is until Ellie decides it's actually about the revenge. But was it about Dina being pregnant? Because that started something and then it just kind of dropped. Was it about this thing between, this little tension between Ellie and Jesse that just never goes anywhere? It's just, they start a few things that could have been interesting or side plots or whatever, and just never goes anywhere. And also finding all of these people from the WLF and Ellie not getting her revenge kind of makes sense how fast everything's moving, because this is only half the game. Only half the game we play as Ellie, which is so freaking weird because it was marketed as her in this big revenge tale, and then we switch perspectives halfway through. My whole issue, my biggest issue with this game is structure. The fact that shit's getting revealed at random times, and there are plot lines that are just dangled and then just left to hang. It's so odd, but if they would have started us with Ellie and then played all the way through with Ellie, that would have been one thing. If they, at the very start of the game, wanted us to play as Abby and have it kind of a situation where, you know, you kill the main character of the last game and then you're hunted by Ellie throughout the game, that could be really cool as well. And you play as Abby the entire time. That could have been really cool as well. Maybe a little harder to market, but it could have been cool. They decided we're going to kind of do both and slap them together and have it not make a lot of sense, because it's like I said, at this point in time, not only have we had all these weird we've had like 3 or 4 weird flashbacks, we're also about to jump back 3 days of time to see the game from another perspective that never... I can't even say it's worth seeing the game from a different perspective. It's a different storyline entirely. Because Abby's storyline and Ellie's storyline kind of have something to do with each other. You hear events that kind of reference each other, but they never actually cross over until they meet in that theater. And that's what's the weirdest fucking thing. I mean, there's maybe tiny bits of time, but for the most part, it's not like they fill in gaps or explain shit between each other. For the most part, it's really fucking weird how they do it. And it just makes me ask the question, why did you split it up in half? Either have me play as one character or the other. I mean, like I said, playing as Abby and killing the main character would have been one thing. It maybe would have pissed people off. But if you were trying to do that storyline of it's It's about the fact that really what Joel did wasn't necessarily a good thing. From a different perspective, it could have been bad. There's shades of gray and all this stuff. If you wanted to do that, that would have worked and played as Abby. I'm not saying playing as Abby wouldn't have worked. I would have liked the people surrounding her not to be made of fucking cardboard, because again, that's what their personalities feel like. I would have liked the fact that it didn't seem like we were trying to make all our characters from the last game that we've grown to love assholes, because, well, I say assholes, but it's I don't know. To me, it kind of felt like Ellie kind of got snubbed. You know, like they made her a worse person than she actually was at the end of the first game. It seemed like her character regressed, if you ask me. That's me. But this whole, they treat Joel, and I get it. They're going to treat Joel. The WLF characters are going to treat Joel like the devil, because I get why they hate him. Especially Abby, again, with her dad being the doctor that Joel kills. I get that. But it almost feels like Naughty Dog was treating Joel like he's a piece of shit. And that's weird to me. So yeah, like I said, I think this game could have worked if they would have cut down on the number of superfluous storylines and focused on one thing and did that really well, and then maybe throw in some other little side things. You know what I mean? It's just like the first game. I mentioned this. There's no fat in that motherfucker. You know, I mean, what happens? It's Joel with his daughter. 20 years later, Joel is a smuggler. Joel, they're going after that guy who stole their guns. They meet Marlene. She tells them to take Ellie across the country. Okay, they're going to do that. They take her to the extraction point. Well, the extraction point's dead. Okay, so Joel's going to now take Ellie to Tommy. Well, to get them to Tommy, he's got to go see Bill. They got to do that whole thing in the suburbs to get the car. They get in the car. They move on to that next city. The Raiders attack them. Okay, they got to get out of that city. Then they got to go find Tommy. They find Tommy. Okay, so they got to push back these Raiders. Joel and Ellie have their little character moment where instead of him leaving her, they bond and decide that they're going to stay together. They do the thing at the university. The university leads to Joel getting injured. Joel's injury then has a reversal of roles. Ellie taking care of Joel. I'm sorry, I have to breathe. Jesus, I'm talking really fast. They have that scene. They have Ellie on her own where she's kind of vulnerable and now having to take care of herself out, not just in the QZ, but out in the wild of the world. You have her wiping out that guy with the machete, which also, was a lot darker than some of the shit that she did in this game. We do that scene, and then it's Joel and Ellie at the hospital. Just one event, even when we got away from the main quest of getting Ellie out west, it's still, everything was in service of that goal. There was so little fat on that story. This game has so much fat. There's so much superfluous bullshit in there that just distracts us. That isn't even necessary to the plot line. It's so fucking weird that they did that. And that's my thing. I think cut down on that. Have one main plot line and maybe some other little threads that work their way around with stuff. You can go on a tangent, like I said, but have everything lead back to the main goal. But the problem was there was so much noise in this, I couldn't tell for the longest time what the main story was, especially for the fact that Abby's storyline isn't even about Ellie. She doesn't even really know about Ellie until that moment they meet. That is the weirdest part about this. Their stories are completely separate. Like, if you want to switch perspectives partway through, I think I bring up in my gameplay, I bring up the movie The Departed. They do something similar, but in The Departed, when they switch perspectives, it's when the main character that we've been following dies, and we go to another character that we've seen and, that we already know. And then it continues on from the point where the first guy dies. Sorry if I just spoiled The Departed, but that's what this game is. That's what this game doesn't do that. This game, it doesn't even continue the story. It goes back to the beginning, and it doesn't tell the same story from a different perspective. It tells a completely different story. It's so fucking weird. All right, are we done yet? Because I'm getting sad. Oh no, I gotta talk about Abby's portion of this whole mad ship. Oh my god. Oh, man, if it seems like I'm having fun talking about this, I actually am, because it's like I said, because one, the gameplay is super fun, in my opinion, and two, there's seeds of some good stories here. but god damn it, slamming them together just didn't fucking work. And also, again, the fact that I kept mentioning this during the LP, there are just tons of structural issues with shit getting revealed at weird times and all the flashbacks. And now that we've jumped back in time to play as Abby, we have flashbacks within a skip backwards. So everything just is so fucking weird. And when everything happens, it's, oh boy. All right. Well, either way, let's start on Abby's section of the game. So Abby's section of the game starts back on the day, or maybe not exactly the day. Either way, it goes back to when she was younger. Her dad was still alive. This is before Joel shot up the hospital. That sentence sounds very bad for people like me who agree with what Joel did, but that's beside the point. Before Joel takes out the Fireflies or whatever, that's when we pick up Abby's. Their names are too similar for me, because I did that a lot during the LP too, where I said Abby or Ellie instead of Abby a lot. Where Abby's dad is Abby's trying to find her dad. Her dad's running around because he's gonna find a zebra or something and help it give birth, and then helps it out of some razor wire, or there's something stupid like that. Because, you know, we had the giraffe scene in the first game, so we have to have a scene where Abby runs into a zebra, some shit like that, and then it basically goes to. It cuts a little bit to after they've done the scans of Ellie's head and what they need to do to create the cure. Abby tells her dad that, oh, I would let you kill me or whatever. Which kind of makes me feel like they're trying to make Abby more virtuous and a better person than Ellie, even though Ellie also would have let them do it. I don't know why. I just still feel like at times they tried to make Abby out to be some saint when she's really kind of a prick, if you ask me. But that's just if you ask me. Like I see so many people on Twitter like, oh my gosh, Abby was such a great character. She's so good, and I'm all so good and pure. And I'm like, the fuck are you talking about? She's a psycho. Like, she did some really fucked up shit in this game and was never held accountable for any of it. Yet Joel had to be held accountable for what he did, and Ellie had to be held accountable for what she did. Abby, not so much. I mean, she's held accountable for different choices, but the whole Joel thing didn't really come back to bite her in the ass. A lot of her friends died, and you can argue there's stuff like that, but even that, I still argue it's muddied. I don't know exactly how much she felt about any of these guys, because half of them we didn't see her interact with. Hell, that Leah chick, I keep saying Leia, that Leah chick who sent the boob picture, yeah, if you remember when I talked about that like an hour ago, yeah, she just died. Like, I don't think we ever actually, she had zero dialogue in this entire game. She wasn't even mentioned. Same thing with the guy who got killed by Tommy. I don't think either of them had any dialogue. It's really kind of funny. I don't even know what the first guy's name is. Either way, back to whatever I was talking about. So yeah, it's Abby, Abby and her dad. Abby then finds her dad killed by Joel. That's that whole mess. And then we skip forward to her in the WLF. We see their little base of operations in Seattle football stadium, even though it's not the Seahawks. Oddly enough, they show a picture. It looked like the Colts holding a championship. I think in my LP, I made fun of the fact that, oh, did the Colts ever win a championship? Which I couldn't remember. I'm from Indiana, and I could not remember. I could not remember them winning a Super Bowl. Yeah, oddly enough, they did. And as soon as I looked it up, I'm like, oh, wait, I do remember that Super Bowl. It was in 2007. The Colts played the Chicago Bears down in Miami for the championship. It was Peyton Manning's, well, I guess Peyton Manning won 2 Super Bowls. I think he won one with the Colts and one with the Broncos. But he won, the one he won with the Colts was in 2007. Oddly enough, I'm not sure I've mentioned this on the channel before. I live closer to Chicago than I do to Indianapolis, so it's kind of weird that it's like the city I'm closer to mixed with the capital of my state, so that, they were having the big showdown for the Super Bowl. It was a big deal. I'm like, that's kind of why it reminded me. I don't know why I had to bring this up in this thing, but I just want to talk about something fun before I talk about Abby's story. So we, she wakes up from this dream that she's having. That was basically how they justified the flashback with her dad. And now she's walking around their base with Manny, who's just one of the other random guys who was a part of this outfit that went to kill Joel. So she's walking around with Manny and all this, and they're going to go out on some patrol or mission or whatever. And they're going to go find Mel. Mel is the pregnant woman who Ellie kills later on. Mel and Abby don't like each other. It's eventually revealed after this little patrol that Abby, Manny, and Mel are on, along with a cute doggo, I believe named Alice. I like that doggo, actually. Either way, they're on a little mission in the religious cult. Remember them that I kind of mentioned? Yeah, up to this point, they've really not been a big part of the game. Yeah, they show up, and I maybe it would have been interesting if they worshipped the infected. I want the Seraphites to be interesting, but they just weren't. They had all the possibilities of being cool, but the game did zero with them. Either way, so we see Abby and Manny and Mel go off on this they're not going on patrol. They're going to do a different base. There we go. And to meet the leader of this military outfit. They partway through they get ambushed, and they're kind of have to make the rest of the way on foot. It's all this thing. Abby and Mel are also having this fight. You know, Mel is visibly pregnant during this sequence, so it kind of makes it like, why the hell is she out here in the first place? But she got cleared for active duty so what the fuck do I know? But either way, so they're out, and her and Mel have this whole fight or whatever. And at first you think the big issue is the fact that Mel doesn't feel good about what they did to Joel, even though she says a very interesting line, which is, I might be paraphrasing here, but it's something along the lines of, oh, Joel, he deserved worse for what he did. I just wish I wasn't a part of it. Which made me scratch my head and go, wait a minute. So you're trying to play the bigger person in that, you know, oh my gosh, I just wish I wasn't a part of this. But he deserved worse than getting beaten to death with a golf club. Like, that's kind of fucked up, isn't it? I think I got a comment from somebody who's kind of said the same thing, that's kind of weird. Like, you're acting like it's coming off as she's kind of being sanctimonious of like, oh, how this doesn't really bother Abby or anything. I'm like, oh, but it bothers me. I'm so pure. But something worse should have happened to him. I'm like, well, so it's one of those, you're fine with something bad happening as long as you're not the one doing it. And I'm like, that's, you sanctimonious piece of shit. So I, off the bat, don't like Mel. And you know what? We never see anything. She just seems like a whiny bitch, in all honesty. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say something? Whiny. Yeah, I'm not saying that because she's a woman. I'm saying that because that's just how she comes across. All she does is really just kind of whine. Her character is super unnecessary. I didn't like her. Eventually, we find out that Abby and her current baby daddy, Owen, used to be a couple. And later on, they bang. And I mean Abby and Owen. And it's hinted at that Mel knows, but I'm not 100% sure if Mel knows. And in all honesty, I don't care because Mel eventually dies, and why the hell do I give a shit? Either way, eventually, this little cadre, Manny, Mel, Abby, Alice is frankly the only one that I actually liked at this point in time, go to the FOB, I believe, Forward Operating Base for the WLF. They meet Isaac, the leader, and he's just a military leader guy that he's in I think he's in 2 scenes. He's in this one and one later in the game, which the one later in the game was actually pretty good. You know, Isaac could have been a really cool character if they used him, but whatever. And also something kind of fun, you know, as they're walking into the FOB, you know, they're seeing all these holding cells with all these different the Seraphites, you know, as they call them, scars, because the Seraphites cut from about their sideburns down to about the corners of their mouths on their face. You know, they have these scars, hence why the WLF call them scars. So they're seeing all these scars in the holding cells and whatever, and you know, Abby's basically, oh, you know, I wish that, you know, we could go in there and basically torture some of them, you know, because she's all mad and angry about this. So, you know, showing just how much of a peach Abby is, and, you know, all that great character development that shows her growing into a good person. Oh, what's that you say? They don't show that? Oh, that's right. whatever. They do something that I think a lot of people mistake for, oh, well, no, she shows that she cares about people. Like, no, she cares about two particular people, but I'm jumping ahead. So they get into this base. Abby makes that casual line about torture that, again, I think is kind of fucked up. They meet Isaac. Isaac tells Abby Owen is AWOL right now. The guy he was out kind of doing his little patrol with came back shot and said Owen did it. Owen has kind of been acting weird around Mel lately and taking up all these extra shifts, and so there's something going on with Owen that we don't fully know about. So then Abby goes out and she's gonna find him. I can't remember if it's at this point that we see the flashback of when her and Owen first get to the WLF, and we see that the two of them are dating at the time, and they're exploring this aquarium or something. It's a nice little scene, I guess. I kind of like Owen at this time because he's kind of got this flat delivery, before later on I just kind of find out that he's just very cardboard. But at the time I kind of liked it. So, you know, they're kind of exploring. He calls it a fish zoo, which I agree with wholeheartedly. That is what aquariums should be called. I like that term. But, you know, so it's this cutesy little scene that it's but all the time, though, I keep sitting here thinking, man, this is a nice cutesy little scene that we're seeing with the woman who joked about torturing people and beat a guy to death with a golf club. I get it. It's there's many sides of people. They do good and bad things, but but that's not the point of the game. And also, you're doing all of this stuff so close together and packed together because, again, you slammed two games together that shouldn't be two parts of a whole. Like, you put two halves of a puzzle together. You know, so either way, the cutscene is it's cutesy, and I kind of liked it, but at the same time, tonally, with the way that we know Abby to eventually be, it's just kind of weird. And I guess it is in the past. It's a whole thing. Either way, so we have that little scene. Abby goes off on her little mission to go find Owen. She starts running around. I'm trying to remember if anything important happens until she ends up getting captured by Scars. So they're about to basically sacrifice her. If anybody remembers, I want to say it was that PSX. It was the voice actor for Abby, and two young children were giving some sort of presentation or giving a talk. They showed the cut scene with Abby being kind of hung, and then those two Asian kids come out of the woods and save her. Is this ringing a bell with anybody? Initially, I think a lot of people were thinking that was Ellie's mom because they kind of looked alike. How funny is it that no, she is not. And especially with what is in reality, what happens in reality is just way shocking compared to what people were thinking at the time. That's just funny to me. So basically, these kids save Abby from being hung and having her gut split open by the Seraphites. It turns out these kids are considered heretics by the Seraphites. One of them has her arm smashed by a hammer. Again, does anybody remember the scene? So Abby with these two little kids from this, she's a wolf, they're Scars, they should hate each other, but, a tentative alliance is formed so that they can all escape this little island as all of these clickers are coming down and starting to attack everybody. It's a really cool chase scene, really neat action segment. Again, I'll keep saying it, this game's combat and action sequences and set pieces were really nice. It's just the story surrounding them is dog shit. So either way, Ellie gets these two kids to kind of like a construction yard, puts them in like a little like office trailer thing or whatever, helps kind of reset the little girl with the broken arm, kind of resets that for her and tells them, basically, hey, look, you're going to need to be out of here in the morning because there's patrols or whatever. And, you're a wolf, why are you helping us? It's just kind of, you saved me. Just they were kind of helping each other in the spur of the moment or whatever. And Abby leaves to go find Owen at the aquarium. So she goes to find him at the aquarium. She runs into him. He's drunk and, gives her the whole situation of what happened when he shot his little patrol partner. Apparently the patrol partner was gonna... I'm trying to remember exactly what happened. It was something stupid. It was something, well, maybe not stupid. It would have been a lot cooler if we would have seen it happen. Actually, this might have been the time for a flashback, but apparently Owen was about to shoot a Seraphite. He wasn't trying to resist or grab a weapon or anything, and then the partner guy came up and was going to kill them because, and Owen didn't see a reason why we're killing somebody who's unarmed and not even trying to fight back. They scuffle for the gun, and the other guy gets shot. So it's that whole thing. Owen's now deciding, what, he's going to leave the WLF and he's going to go AWOL, and I'm going to go and, I'm trying to remember. He's going to go and, go to Santa Barbara or something, where apparently there's a whole bunch of fireflies. There's rumors that there's fireflies out there that they're going to, meet up in this place. So that's what he's going to do. I'm trying to think. I feel like there's something I missed. Oh, that's right. In the meeting with Isaac, I forgot to mention, he's basically planning for, in 3 days, there's some big storm that's coming in, and he's planning to go and assault the main island for the Scars. There we go. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. It's kind of important, but kind of not, because like I said, it goes nowhere. All right, so then she hears Owen's story. They talk. Owen's like, come with me. No, I can't. And what about Mel and all this stuff? And you have responsibilities. And Abby hasn't completely gotten out of not being part of the WLF, even though really she never kind of loses that thing of her being part of the WLF until a very specific moment. You never see her really question it until that point. It's really kind of dumb, but whatever. Again, is that shocking to anybody by this point in time? So basically they sit there, they're kind of fighting, and eventually they start having sex, and I'm like, they have sex, and you see thrusting for a little bit. It's kind of weird. Either way, Abby, they're both asleep. Abby has a nightmare and sees those kids, strung up by the Seraphites or whatever, and she feels guilty, so she goes back to save them. And again, not save them because it's the right thing to do, saves them because she feels guilty. Look, I get it. That's an understandable character motive, but again, it's just to the people who are trying to act like Abby is such a good, complex, nice person. She's not that nice of a person. Everything she does is almost driven by almost a selfish need for something. Look, you want to say that that's what Ellie was doing with her revenge plot, sure, but she wasn't trying to be, you know what I mean. She wasn't driven by. Yet at the same time, Abby, I guess my problem is people's interpretation of Abby, not Abby herself. Because really, Abby admits that the reason she goes back to save those Scar children is because she feels bad. It's guilt. It's to kind of wipe some karmic slate clean. Because she kind of feels bad for what she did for Joel, even though we don't really see that a whole hell of a lot. But whatever. It's just like I said, I feel like they're treating her, the game's treating her with kid gloves and giving her all these opportunities to be a good person or whatever, and Ellie's not getting a lot of them. It's kind of weird. Well, whatever. Again, I think the developers feel like they have they're in such a karmic debt with her, again, beating Joel to death with a golf club. They kind of feel like, God, we got to redeem her in some way, shape, or form. Let's attach her to children. I say children, they're like 13, 15. I think that's their ages, something like that. So either way, Abby goes back to help the children. The girl's arm is really fucked up. It's like completely red or whatever. So she saves them, brings them back to the aquarium. Mel has shown up. And at the aquarium, she's like, "Whoa, we're helping Scar children or whatever." Oh my God. And they find out that it's compartment syndrome. It's what fucked up. That's what, after getting hit in the hand with the hammer, completely shattered her arm, and they have to basically amputate it. So they send Abby on a mission to the hospital. She shows up at the hospital. Well, in between there, she hangs out with the little brother of the girl whose arm got fucked up. There's some cool dialogue scenes. There's some neat moments. The kid's kind of interesting. We see a little bit of we hear a little bit about the Seraphite religion, even though, in all honesty, it could just be Christianity that with a focus of living off the land. So kind of like more, and it's not Amish, but kind of. It's really weird. Again, they bring in this religious cult, which I think requires more explanation than this military group, because the military group isn't based on an ideology or anything. It's just, basically a small military occupation of Seattle. And then this ideological cult that we don't really know a whole hell of a lot about because it's never explained. Hell, apparently their prophet or whatever isn't even leading them anymore. Their prophet got killed by Isaac in the WLF, and that's a whole thing. It's just, there's been like multiple ceasefires. So like there's a history and there's something really cool there, but nothing's ever explained. Oh, well, it's ambient storytelling because you can find all these notes and everything, and I'm like, I'm fine with that, but I feel like the broad strokes were never even talked about. It's set up in the most broad of ways, and just not developed, and just eventually we get to the payoff. This is something I said a lot during the LP. I feel like a lot of this I'm said a lot in the LP, but it seems like a modern writing trick where writers will basically set something up, be it throwaway dialogue or a cutscene or something, and then just down the road will just give you the payoff for it. Like, well, we set it up, so now we can just give you the payoff. But you didn't develop it. You didn't give me any you basically went straight from A to C. You didn't give me B in the middle. Like, that's my problem. That's what I feel like they were doing with this a lot of times. So either way, like I was saying, Abby and this kid Lev are going to this hospital to get medical supplies for the sister. They kind of bond a little bit. It's an interesting little. It's probably the most interesting bit of Abby's gameplay, if you ask me, or at least dialogue and everything. Because I actually kind of like Lev. I like Yara. That's Lev's sister. I like her too. But again, plot devices. They're not. They aren't even. They're barely characters. Because we don't find out a lot about them other than they still believe in their religion and a little something else that I'll get to in a minute. But so either way, so again, it's just plot devices, not characters. It's frustrating. So they get to the hospital, they go in and they get the supplies to take back to the sister. Abby ends up having to fight this weird conglomerate mass of a bunch of clickers that have like fused together. It's really weird. It reminded me more of Resident Evil than it did in like shitty new Resident Evil, not old good Resident Evil. Yes, I still say Resident Evil 4 is still old good Resident Evil, but that's just me. So it's just like I looked at it, I'm like, we're jumping the shark here. This is fucking dumb. So we do that fight. Then we go back to the hospital. They amputate the arm. There's this whole fight between Abby and Mel that, Owen's going to go to Santa Barbara and I'm going to go with him. But if you're going, I'm not going because I really don't know if it's because she knows that Owen and Abby had sex, if it's because Mel's just kind of a bitch, if it's because Mel just doesn't like Abby, if she thinks Abby's just toxic. I'm not 100% sure, nor did at this point I really give a shit, because honestly, I didn't like Mel. I didn't really like Abby. I mean, I was kind of neutral on Abby, and I'm still kind of neutral on Abby. I don't necessarily hate her by the end of it. It's just, she's kind of, everything she did was so reactionary. It never felt like she had really any wants or needs or anything. She was just, everything she did felt like, well, I'm in this situation now. What's my best path forward? And that's a terrible way to write a character. That's not, there's no plan. There's no plot. There's just what makes sense in this moment. Okay, I'm going to do this. Oh, well, now what makes sense now? Well, I'm going to do this. And it's annoying. So, you have that fight. Then you have Abby and Yara walking around the hospital trying to find Lev. It's revealed that the reason that they're considered heretics in the religion is because Lev shaved his head, and because he wanted to look like one of the men. And the reason for that is it's I don't think they ever said the words, but it's because Lev is actually a girl, or a biological girl. She's transgendered, basically. That's what it is. And it's this puritanical religion and all this stuff. And I'm like, oh, well, that's just super lazy. It's not like you broke a tenant. It's not like you were going to be sacrificed and somebody saved the other one. It just kind of, oh, it's because it's a transgendered thing that it's a transgendered thing. So again, we can throw another modern day political talking point, or topic, into our game, say how right and courageous this kid is to fight against this fundamentalist religion, and it's just like, this is why I said earlier that I'm like, these guys could just be just radical Christians for all I know. It's so bland, and it's just, you couldn't come up with something other than just take modern politics, slap it in a game, and it's covered in this scene, and then we're fucking done with it. Because other than this, it explains why the cult hates the kid, but beyond that, it does nothing for the plot. Great. It's just a... When I say it's a divisive point, I'm willing to bet most people who have an issue with it don't have an issue. It's kind of like the thing with Ellie earlier. It's the people don't have a problem with Ellie being gay, just like they don't have a problem that Lev is trans or whatever, because that's not my issue with it. My issue with it, I think for a lot of people, and also me, is that you're just taking politics to use to get brownie points and slapping it into a game and trying to make it divisive and ooh, look at how forward thinking and whatever we're doing, and we're just rolling our eyes going, could you come up with anything else, anything that just, so we don't have to think about that stuff, we don't have to be political, we can just play a game. Like, really, it's not necessary. You don't do anything with it. And my other issue with it is that people act like this is representation. Ooh, they're covering it, talking about an issue. They didn't talk about shit. They talked about the fact that that the kid's trans, and that it leads to a split with the religion. We're fucking done. It's window dressing. It's just like Ellie being gay and having that fight with Seth. It's there so that they can have their little political message of, oh, look how forward thinking, and oh, look, we stand with this community. It's fucking bullshit, because it doesn't mean anything. You aren't talking about it in a meaningful way. You're just basically saying, oh, you be who you want to be, you go. I'm like, okay, well, great. Yeah, you could have given me that in a poster, or I could have just looked at the Naughty Dog logo throughout the month of June. That's my issue. If you want to do something with the idea, that's fine. Do something with it. Explore the issue. But you don't. It's just like the cartoon character, sexist, racist, whatever, bigot that Seth was. It's the same thing. They're making the Seraphites, taking them from like this kind of interesting religion into basically, oh, it's a cartoon version of what a fundamentalist Christian or fundamentalist religious person nowadays is. That's no fun. That's just boring. That's my problem with it. It's so fucking pointless. Oh, I'm sorry. And I guess I get angry with that because, again, I love politics. I love arguing politics and all this, but video games, I like to stay out of it. I don't like talking about it on the channel. I really don't, because I tend to go in circles, and sometimes I get misconstrued, and people are like, oh, again, it's like I say, it's like, oh, you have a problem with gay people? You have a problem with trans people? No. I have a problem with them being used as window dressing in this game for no reason other than just to say, look how, again, progressive we are. And then when I call it out and say that it's pandering, you say, oh, you have a problem with this. And I'm like, well, this is why I'd rather it just not be here, so we can just play a game and talk about that instead of this. And now here I am talking about this, and sorry, I'm getting agitated because if you couldn't tell, I've actually kind of had fun tearing into this game. This subject annoys me because it's unnecessarily divisive, but whatever. There we go. We covered the political issues. Moving the fuck on. So Abby and Yara continue to search the aquarium for Lev. They find out that Lev has ran away because he wants to go try and save their mother. Well, Yara says, no, Mom wouldn't understand. Mom's so brainwashed by the cult, blah, 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 blah. But either way, Lev goes out to find them. So Abby and Yara go out to save Lev. Eventually, there's a situation where I can't remember if they have to if she has to swim or what's going on. She climb something or something, but Yara has to stand back and kind of, oh no, there's gunshots. There's like active combat, and Abby says, well, hold on, let me go see what it is. She runs into Manny, the one guy that who's still kind of alive out of all of these characters who killed Joel. So Abby and Manny meet up, and they're being pinned down by Tommy with his sniper rifle. So they're basically, it's this really cool kind of combat segment where you're trying to advance up the street while Tommy's taking pot shots at you. You have to fight some infected while he's shooting at you. It's kind of a neat segment. And then you run into Tommy, and you're chasing him through this building, and he goes around this corner, kind of blocks off a way, and they're gonna cut him off and flank him through this door, and Tommy turns the corner and just shoots Manny in the head, and so he's dead. So it's just another character who just goes down out of nowhere. Like, it's like, well, again, it's, oh, well, we're done with using this character, so he's dead. And again, it's so many of these guys just die, and not like some, like, not in the way like a named character and like an important character should. It's just they go down like that could have just been a nameless grunt, a red shirt from Star Trek, but he just goes the fuck down. That's pretty funny. So then Abby goes in, she gets into a fight with Tommy. Tommy falls into the water as Yara shows up to try and back her up. Tommy falls into the water, and that's assuming eventually then he meets Jesse. We don't see that reunion, but eventually I'm assuming that's when he meets Jesse, and then him and Jesse find Ellie and take her back to the theater for whatever. So Abby and Yara's story's not done. They get into a boat, and they head over to the Seraphite Island, where they fight their way through some Seraphites. The invasion of the wolves is starting on the Seraphite Island. Abby and Yara eventually find Lev. Lev has killed their mother by accident. It's a whole thing with him. And then they decide, look, we're getting out of here, as the wolves keep trying to break into the, or trying to storm the place and kill all the Seraphites. Eventually, there's a scene where, again, I'm going to laugh here, because guess what? They run through a door, and Yara just gets shot. She just gets shot going through. I'm serious. The developers must think if you just walk through a random door, that's the best time to have somebody get shot from off screen. So she gets shot, and it's this whole thing, and Abby's trying to protect Lev from the WLF that's showing up. Isaac shows up and has his little showdown with her, and she's like, let him go, and what, it's all this. Oh, she's been AWOL because she went after Owen, and it's like, and then we see her basically split off from the WLF because Yara is still alive. Apparently, she kind of wakes up for a second, shoots Isaac in the back. I don't think he's dead, but you know what? That's the last time we see him, so he might as well be. So then they take fire, and basically Abby is now split off from the WLF, which again, could have been a really cool thing to see her now have to fight against her former group, but we have not seen her question the WLF. I mean, really question them. I mean, she's wondering, why won't Isaac let me go find Owen? Screw it, I'm gonna go do it anyways. And like, that's the end of the questioning. She's not really not wanting to be a part of the WLF. This is what I said about Abby. All of her decisions seem to be based on, I'm just gonna do whatever makes sense at the moment. Well, now they're trying to kill me. I'm not a part of you anymore. It's just a split-second decision. So she saves Lev now that Yara's shot running through a door. I think that's 3 of them now that's been killed like that. So Abby saves Lev. They have their whole escape from the island. They get back to the aquarium to find Mel and Owen dead, because that was the scene where Ellie killed them. Ellie dropped a map that would lead Abby back to the theater. And then we see from Abby's perspective, Ellie and Jesse running through that door. Jesse gets shot in the face again. Abby's currently standing on Tommy's back. They have this whole thing. Tommy gets shot in the head, which somehow he survives. I'm not 100% sure how he did that, but he survives. And as Abby, you fight Ellie in this theater. It's a kind of a cool segment that I think kind of reminds me of fighting the... oh, Jesus Christ. That reminds me of fighting the cannibal leader from the first game, but not as cool. So we fight Ellie. Abby ends up winning. Dina comes in out of nowhere, starts hacking at Abby with a knife, which also I found kind of funny. This is a weird kind of gameplay thing that I mentioned, but I still find funny that playing as Abby in the game feels more like playing as Joel than playing as Abby felt more like playing as Joel. Ellie felt kind of unique. Abby just felt like a remix of Joel. They even brought back the shivs, because Ellie doesn't need shivs because she has her pocket knife. But I'm sitting here going, so this mercenary or soldier lady doesn't carry a knife? Why? I get it, because she's got those massive fucking arms that, she can strangle people, but still, you'd think she'd be killing, you'd want a knife to kill clickers, but that's just me, I guess. So, Dina's slashing at, Ellie's, her face is beat to hamburger now because, basically she got mounted and just punched. Dina's slashing away at Abby. Abby gets the knife away from her. It's about to slit Dina's throat. Allie's like, no, she's pregnant. Abby's, oh, good. And it's literally like gets ready to slit her throat, and I was just waiting for it. And Lev's like, no, Abby, don't. And Abby's just like, fine, throws away the knife, so I better never see you again, basically, and walks away. Abby and Ellie's sitting there just bleeding. And that's where we now have another time skip. So I think there's another point to kind of go, I feel like they were trying to make Abby the... See, it's like I said, I feel like they were trying to make her a good person and redeemable, but it's like I said, every time, I mean, maybe that was the first time we saw her make a decision for something other than pragmatic reasons, but honestly, this is also something else I've been saying throughout this entire game. Look, if you're going to get revenge on somebody, fucking get it, and hit them hard enough that they're not going to come back, because this game has showed me, if you don't, they're going to come back at you, and then you're going to come back at them, and everyone around you is going to die. It's at this point that I'm sitting here thinking, what did we learn here? What was the message? Was Abby the main character, and she decided to not get her revenge for all the friends that Ellie killed, but at the same time, and I'm like, and who's in the right? Is the whole thing nobody's in the right here? Because I mean, like, because I think Ellie had a reasonable reason to want to get revenge, but I guess so does Abby, because a lot of her friends have died. But it's so confusing, and the whole Lev just yelling her name and just snapping Abby out of her murder rampage of killing Dina. I guess it's one of those, like, oh, it's not going to solve anything, so why do it? We've won. I don't fully understand why. It's not like we had any reason for Abby throughout the hours that we've played as her. It's not like we had a reason to believe she'd grown to the point that she thought torture and murder is wrong. Because hell, we even heard her herself say that she'd torture people if, I'd love to torture some of those Seraphites. But, so it doesn't make sense that we haven't seen her grow to become like that. We haven't seen her develop or anything. It's just because the kids there, I don't fucking know why she let them go. Whatever. But we're still not done, because now we jump, I'm not sure how many months later. It's at least 9 months, because Ellie and Dina are living on a farm outside of Jackson. There was some dialogue early in the game, like when you were running around downtown Seattle with her and Ellie. Okay, so it kind of throws back to that. The kid has been born. Ellie's changed her haircut, and she's looking fucking good, if you ask me. I thought Ellie was the hottest she's ever been in that scene, with her hair the way it was. That's just me. So her and Dina are living this cute little domestic life on this farm, and there's this kid, and Ashley Johnson, still absolute treasure, having some great dialogue. And so her and Dina, I like the chemistry between them. I thought it was very good. But, so they're in this, this little, out on this little farm, and Ellie ends up getting, the wind blows the barn door shut while she's herding some sheep, and she's carrying the baby and starts having a freak out because she's flashing back to Joel's dead body. It's a whole thing. Eventually Tommy shows up at the farm because he's kind of heard he's heard intel of where Abby is down in Santa Barbara, because apparently that's where her and Lev went. Ellie, I keep doing that. Their names sound too fucking similar in my opinion. Ellie, Tommy's, I'm trying to think here. Where was I? So Tommy's there. He's got kind of like a limp or something. I think it has to do with the whole thing that he was shot in the face. But, he's got a limp or whatever. He's talking to him. He's, asking him, what are you going to do? And Ellie's kind of said, look, we're not doing it. We're not going after him, whatever. And he's like, are you fucking kidding me? He's like, after everything we lost, which I think Tommy makes a point. After everything we've lost, really? You're not going after her? This is the whole point of anything. Are you fucking kidding? He's like, fuck it, I'll go myself. And there's also a thing like, this has apparently destroyed him and Maria's marriage and all that. Ellie eventually decides, you know, because she can't sleep, she decides she's going to go out and hunt down Abby, and she decides that she's going to go take her out. Dina asks her to stop and basically tells her, I won't be back here waiting for you. And Ellie still decides to go, so she goes out to California. There's some cool combat scenes. Oh, I forgot. We have another scene with Abby with her and Lev walking around this little town where Abby finds out that there is a place with a whole bunch of fireflies, and they're going to go, you know, meet them. But as they're leaving this little house, they get ambushed and taken prisoner. That's when we pick back up as Ellie. Apparently, I think this is a few months after Abby and Lev were taken prisoner. Ellie basically assaults this little plantation that this bandit group has basically set up that they're using slave labor on. Abby had apparently tried to incite a revolt or something, so now she's, as they said, she's at the pillars. So they're basically these planks of wood, and, like, you know, set up crosses out in the out on the beach that they're just tied people to. Is actually kind of a neat visual moment. So I credit where credit's due. And Ellie shows up, and, you know, she took a wound from, she got caught in like some sort of trap and got her side stabbed, so she's bleeding and hurt and everything. And Abby's been up on this pole for a couple days, so, you know, she's all weakened. Like, even her arms aren't, you know, she's lost so much muscle mass and everything, and she's beaten down and whatnot. You know, she gets Lev off his little pillar and puts him in a boat, and she's about to run off, and Ellie basically says, no, fuck no, we're doing this. We're having this fight. Holds a knife to Lev's throat, and Abby's like, fine, we're doing this. So then you proceed to have a fist fight, and it's a cool fight. And then at the very end, Ellie's, you know, bloodied, it's raining, it's, you know, this very murky scene. She's holding Abby's head under the water, strangling her. And this is the weirdest fucking moment, or maybe not the weirdest moment, but this is just the weirdest one that I saw the most recently. But she flashes in her mind, she sees a picture of Joel, or she sees Joel on his porch playing his guitar, lets Abby go, and then she's sitting in the water crying, says, go, get out of here. And Abby runs off with Lev and fucks off. And then Ellie's sitting in the surf crying, just sitting there. Eventually she gets on her boat and leaves. And throughout this fight, also, she loses a couple fingers because Abby bit them off. It was a pretty fucking cool moment. Whatever. So then it flashes back. We see the scene with... we finally see that dance hall theme. Like I said, they put this at the fucking end of this game. We see Ellie in the dance hall. We see the thing with Dina, the fight, the Seth says his bigoted comments. You know, Joel pushes him. And then we see the whole thing that, oh, it looks like Joel and Ellie were going to reconcile their differences. Even though, again, it makes me ask the question, wait a minute, shouldn't that, to explain this revenge mission, shouldn't that scene have been so much earlier? But apparently not. About 5 minutes from the end is important. Then, basically, after we see all of this, we see Ellie have her moment with Joel saying, I think I'm ready to forgive you. Whatever, then everything happens. And now Ellie's back at her little farm with Dina, 2 fingers less. And I think, I don't know what we learned here. I really don't. I don't know why she let her go. Is it because Joel wouldn't have wanted Ellie to let Abby go? Because I think Joel would have said, do it. You know, he would have been Emperor Palpatine on her shoulder. Do it. Do it. Yeah, I don't know if that's what it was, or if it's that moment of, we've lost everything. There's nothing left. All of our friends are either dead or hate us. The fuck is the point of this? Which I think was the message, but it's so muddled in all the other fucking plot lines that went nowhere that I'm not sure, because I'm not even sure if the revenge plotline was the main line. I think it was, because that's what they ended with, but this is what I mean. Things were set up, and then I'm sure somebody's going to tell me, AJ, no, these plot lines did have a setup and had closure, but there's nothing in the middle of them. I'm like, this is what I mean by plot lines that go nowhere. Yeah, they might end and they might wrap them up, but they're wrapped up so poorly or with no development that what the hell's the point? So either way, Ellie shows up at the house that she shared with Dina, missed a couple fingers, all the shit was boxed up, Dina and the kid are gone, Ellie sits down, tries to play a little bit of guitar, she's missing her, couple fingers, she plays the song, tries to play the song that Joel played at the very beginning of the game. It's a little weird because she's missing 2 fingers on her left hand. She puts the guitar down, and then you see her. And then from the window, showing the guitar, you see her walking out across the field and off into the distance to do something that I don't know. That is the end of The Last of Us Part 2. Holy shit, I have talked for a long time about this story. Look, man, I hope that was understandable. I hope I also got everything in the right order. Because I'm sure there are some things I got out of order, and I know I kind of... I tried to put the information in a way, in the order that kind of makes sense, because like I said, the story in the game sure as hell didn't. It's just structure, man. This game had none. It just, they relied so heavily on flashbacks. What's the expression? Show, don't tell. But no, everything's being told in horrible ways, or any of the things they showed, I'm like, well, this could have been done so much better in a different way. It's hard to think professionals worked on this. I don't know what the hell happened at Naughty Dog for their specialty being story and characters just to fall so short. But all in all, man, my score for this game, 6 out of 10. In all honesty, I really like the gameplay. I really like the level design. I like the performances. I liked so much about this game, but its story holds it back so hard. I mean, hell, I'm playing it again because in skipping the cutscenes because I loved the gameplay. I loved playing this game. I hated watching it. That's my take, man. So there you go. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Hopefully you didn't get too bored just listening to me talk while watching the screen. I don't know. Maybe you put this on in the background while you did other shit. If you're interested in more reviews like this, I'll probably do one. I'd do one for Ghost of Tsushima if you're interested. Like I said, if you guys are interested in seeing me do this, but kind of with like gameplay or whatever in the background, I can do. I'd be more willing to invest in some video software to do that. It's a whole thing. I'm just curious as to if this idea would. I'm trying to think here. If it's worth, or hell, if you guys like me kind of doing this unscripted, or if you'd like me to actually write like a scripted review and do that to gameplay or whatever, clips or whatever, that sort of traditional thing. It's if you guys would like to see it and there's enough interest in it, then definitely the work that to put into it would definitely be worth it. But if it's going to get like 2 views and no interactions or anything, it's just I could put that same amount of time and make more gameplay videos and that sort of stuff. It's why I stopped writing reviews. It's just time. It's time issues. It's time things that I don't have now that I have like an actual job and everything. So just like I said, if there's enough support for reviews or videos like these, I definitely do it. And all that. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope that I hope that even though I didn't do a lot of like beginning and end explaining what all I super loved and what I didn't, I hope throughout it kind of made sense what I liked and didn't like and why I reached my score. That's really all I've got for you. This actually took a lot longer than I thought to kind of run through, but Jesus Christ, I had some fun. I hope you did too. Either way. Thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, my name's AJ Gels. This is Something Gaming Channel. Social media is in the description. Like, comment, not already. Please subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned more next time. Till then, I'm out.